This is the Final Whistle podcast from the Wrexham AFC media team.
The final score at Moss Rose, Macclesfield Town 4, Wrexham 1. First time Wrexham will let in 4 goals in a match since they were lost 4-3 at Bromley last April. And, well, I mean, first time this season by a long chalk that Wrexham have looked like they were going to concede goals in that nature. Although it should be said that it was a final flurry of goals that made the difference. With 12 minutes left, you rather fancied Wrexham were going to go on and win this match, but they were caught out late on in a second half of drama and the swirling snow. It took a lot of hard work by Macclesfield to get this game on, and that hard work was rewarded. They're now top of the table, and Scott Wilson, recalled to the team for this match, goes home with a match ball, having scored a hat-trick on live TV. So a memorable morning for Macclesfield Town, a miserable one for the excellent following of Wrexham fans who got absolutely drenched by the snow on the open away terrace and now face a long journey home through the streets of Cheshire to try and get warmed up. So Wrexham frustrated. They had blows dealt to them before the match because in centre midfield both Sam Wedgby and Akil Wright were not fit enough to start the match, so they had to make a very makeshift set up in the middle of the pitch. Mark Carrington coming in alongside Paul Hurst, who started his first game for Wrexham as a central midfielder. And Wrexham started pretty slowly, in all honesty. Indeed, within the first minute, with the conditions already liking to be treacherous and tricky for goalkeepers and defenders, Lloyd pop up on the left and whipping in a nasty shot cross, which backpedaling and off balance, Dunn had to punch away from under his bar rather awkwardly. And in the 6th minute, as Wrexham struggled to get a foothold, Wrexham found themselves behind. Bowden up front had been holding the ball already well in one breakaway, but on this occasion he squandered the ball maybe a little bit easily. Wrexham caught in the break down the right-hand side, long ball over the top, clever flick on by Tyrone Marsh, who's constantly doing well in support of Wilson. And this was Wilson now running down the right channel, 1-1 with Dunn. Lovely finish, drew the keeper and slotted it into the bottom left corner, the ball bumbling agonisingly in. And Wrexham found themselves behind, and until about the 20th minute they were second best, and quite frankly were a little bit lucky that they didn't concede another. Lloyd driving in a cross which was deflected to the near post. Marsh attacking it and trying to flick it in from 6 yards out, put it just wide of the near post. And then the left back Fitzpatrick, who was enterprising and intelligent on the ball going forwards throughout the game, carrying it on, cutting inside and hipping a 25-yarder, trying to tear it into the top right corner. Couldn't quite bring the ball back in time, but that would be a harbinger of what was to come, because Fitzpatrick would get his long-range goal eventually. But Wrexham started to get back into things. Kelly was looking quite useful in midfield as a conduit between phases of play. Rutherford was lively, cutting inside and trying to tee things up. Holroyd wasn't as involved as normal, but Bowden was making the ball stick. And Wrexham started to look more threatening. And although the midfield was still a little bit of a curate's egg, Carrington I thought was quite good and authoritative in possession. Hurst often was chasing shadows a little bit. The fact of the matter is Wrexham started to get a bit more control of the game as the half wore on. Jennings doing well to feed the ball forwards. Hurst picking it up 25 yards out, and as it is wont, going for power, smashing a 25-yarder. Jalal dropping to his left, couldn't hold on to it, but he was able to at least pat it down in front of him and deal with it comfortably enough. There were opportunities at the other end, though, even as Wrexham started to regain their equilibrium. Marsh slamming a driven cross, which was blocked really well. It fell to Burgess on the edge of the area. He hit the ball powerfully. That was blocked well too, but it spanned to Whitehead just outside the 6-yard box, who really should have scored, but he levered the ball over the bar. A terrific let-off for Wrexham, who had to go on in the last 10 minutes of the second half to get a grip on the game and get some good momentum going, even if they weren't necessarily carving out all that many clear-cut opportunities. Firstly, a poor punch by Jalal, falling to but his shot deflected, it lost its pace, but dropped agonisingly into the goal mouth, rolling towards the goal. Rutherford latched onto it sharply, but Jalal was very quick off his line and beat the Wrexham winger to it. Then a free kick, only partially cleared, played back in. Manny Smith chasing it down the right channel, a very tight angle. Jal came out from between his posts and was able to get a block on it to put it behind for the corner before, as time wore out in the half, Rutherford cutting inside did well, fed it into Bowden. He back to goal, held it up nicely, beautifully, laid her off nicely in turn for Holroyd, who 20 yards out hit a shot which, when it left his boot, looked like it was going over the bar, but dipped viciously and only just cleared the crossbar. So half-time, Wrexham 1-0 down, but actually looking more creative than they have done in quite a lot of recent games and quite a lot of recent away matches as well. And they started the second half in a similar vein, starting to carve out opportunities with increasing frequency. Really nice piece of work by Bowden, teed up Rutherford. He swung an early ball in, and Holroyd was attacking it in the box. Lowe, the centre-back, got there first, but lost his balance, and the ball dropped under his foot. Holroyd looked like he had a simple tap-in from 8 yards out. Lowe did brilliantly to stretch and somehow managed to get a toe to it and poke it away as Holroyd was swinging to put it into the net. Then a corner swung in from the left-hand side by Rutherford. Manny Smith attacking it. It went over his head as it span out to the right side of the box. Hurst chasing after it. He appeared to be pulled to the ground in the box. Referee deciding not to give the penalty. Wrexham would have a later penalty shout when Jennings pulled a cross from the left-hand side which struck Hodgkiss either on the chest or the arm. Impossible to tell up from the press box which one it was. If it hit his arm, it had to be a penalty because he had a clear sight of it and it came in from about 20 yards away. But like I said, not possible to judge from up here whether it was his hand in his arm. The player seemed convinced. The linesman was on the opposite side of the incident and therefore he couldn't help the referee out either. But Wrexham continuing to put pressure on. A short corner. The ball dinked into the box by Rutherford, and a great chance of Manny Smith standing centrally just outside the 6-yard box. Had time to take a touch, the ball just rolling slightly away from him. He was slightly off balance, and so he had that moment's hesitation before he got the shot off, and that allowed the defender to get close enough to get a good lunging block and send the ball careering away to safety. Not that Macclesfield were out of the game at this point either, though. And still looking dangerous on the break. They very nearly made it 2-0 when Burgess cut in from the right-hand side onto his left foot and hit a delicious curler which looped over Dunn, hit the bar, the snow dropping off the bar, and the ball bounced away to safety. By now the snow was becoming a bit of an issue. The ball was playing pretty well on the pitch, but it was becoming difficult to actually see where the lines were, and the snow was swirling around in the air. A really picturesque scene. As Wrexham continued to battle on. George Miller came on up front. Holroyd was shifted out to the wing as Wrexham tried to get a bit more attacking impetus. Dunn launching a long ball over the top, and Miller for a second looked like he was going to run clear. An excellent sliding tackle by Kennedy denying him as the last defender. But the pressure was mounting, and in the end it told. Firstly, Rutherford swinging in a ball, a free kick into the box on the right-hand side. Pearson attacked it. The ball looped beyond Jalal, and Whittaker, chasing towards his own goal, was able to hook it away from under his crossbar. Corner. This one again, Rutherford sweeping it in. Pearson meeting it powerfully around the penalty spot, heading the ball in on goal. The ball blocked away in front of Jalal and put away, but Wrexham were not to be denied. Rutherford ripping another fine ball in from the right-hand side. Bowden jumping between the centre-backs and planting a powerful header beyond Jalal. His first goal for Wrexham, coming against his old club, and as he ran and celebrated in picture postcard scenes in the falling snow in front of a packed away end, it looks like, well, Wrexham, we're going to have a memorable away game in this day, in this top of the table tie, because with 12 minutes left the momentum very much was with them. Indeed, soon afterwards, to counter another chance, Rutherford swinging a right-sided corner to the near post. Jennings getting there ahead of his man with a good diagonal run, meeting it with his head, but planting it just wide of the near post. And the away end was packed with optimism. But it was not to last, because Wrexham would be caught out. 12 minutes left, and they were caught with a counter-attack of quality and simplicity. Marsh dropping off into the hole as he did throughout the game, picking it up and feed a clever little pass down the right channel. Wilson running onto it with another excellent one-on-one finish. Dunn advanced. Wilson coolly poked it beyond him again into the bottom left corner, and Wrexham found themselves 2 goals behind. The game was halted while the lines were cleared. In fact, I do hope BT Sport filmed what was going on in Dunn's penalty area, because it was absolutely bizarre. At first it didn't reflect too well on Macclesfield, I've got to be honest, because only one man came out with a shovel. Eventually, though, after an appeal for people to come out with a crowd to help, which is a slightly dangerous game, people did come out. There were a lot of shovels. One chap, though, just went on a bizarre careering wander with the shovel around Dunn's penalty area. I'm not sure what he was doing. All sorts of weird extraneous markings apart from the ones that the referee needed, before eventually the game was able to restart with 8 minutes left, and Wrexham were unable to regain their mojo as Macclesfield pushed on and picked them apart. The third goal and Wilson's hat-trick coming when Dunn, well, will have been disappointed even in these conditions. The ball dropping on the edge of the area, 25 yards out. A powerful driven shot, but straight at the keeper, who low down just pushed it straight back out in front of him. Wilson was the most alert. He came across and he slotted it into the net. He had his hat-trick, and Wrexham were 3-0 down and were out of it. The first time they conceded 3 in a game this season. And it wasn't over, because as Wrexham entered into the 8 added minutes, McCreth now on the pitch in a very attacking setup. They huffed and puffed, but they just couldn't get themselves back into it, and they switched off and conceded a 4th. A controversial corner. Roberts sliding again. I must admit, I thought Roberts put it behind for a corner, but he was, judging by his adamant response when the referee pointed after a lot of cogitation to the corner flag, it looks like maybe Roberts didn't touch her after all. But in Wrexham, had no one to blame for themselves for what happened next. They completely switched off. Their minds, no doubt, on getting the ball and trying to get the ball forwards as quickly as possible. They failed to do the first basic, actually defend the corner. Fitzpatrick, the left back, arrived unannounced on the edge of the box. He was fed in, he had lots of space, and he drove a powerful shot home, and Macclesfield were 4-1 up, home and dry, and Wrexham found themselves defeated frustratingly in this top of the table clash. Frustrating because they, after a rough start, managed to get themselves into a winning position, quite frankly. At 1-1, Wrexham looked the side liable to push on, but ultimately they were picked apart. The defence struggled slightly with the movements of Marsh and at the pace of Wilson running in behind them, but didn't do too badly. Smith and Pearson, their usual solid selves. Jennings again keen to contest and try and drive forwards. Incredibly lucky not to get his 8th yellow card and therefore his 2nd suspension of the season after a very cynical foul on Marsh. I'm not criticising him for making it, because it was a breakaway. Wrexham were wide open, and Jennings looked to stop the attack just by very deliberately taking Marsh out. It would have been a suspension. It was so cynical that actually Marsh didn't have the ball and a different Maxwell player was able to run on and continue the counter-attack. Astounding, the referee didn't give a yellow card, and then he didn't give a yellow card 5 minutes later when Jennings conceded another free kick for a robust tackle, but he got away with that. But Jennings was combative and tried to drive on and drive forwards. In midfield, as I said, Carrington was good, composed, kept his head up, passed the ball around pretty well. Hurst was a bit of a mixture, in all honesty. He did some good work. He was robust and physical at times, but his touch let him down at times as well. When he was trying to be more direct, that quite suited the conditions. He put the ball in behind the defence, Maxwell defence, to try and give Wrexham things to latch onto and chase. But Wrexham missed Wedgbury massively, I think, in the centre of the pitch, and in Akil Wright, for that matter. Kelly was tidy in the first half, drifted out of a bit in the second half. He was substituted early on as Wrexham trying to commit more men forwards, and Miller through the centre. Rutherford on the right was lively and did well. He delivered a lot of good stuff in from the right-hand side, a lot of good service, set up the goal as well. Up front, Holroyd wasn't able to influence things as much as he might have hoped. That first game of the season against Macclesfield, his old team, and he was running around like crazy. His commitment was terrific, and I wondered if he was one of those players who really turns on against his old teams, but maybe trying a bit too hard in this match, was struggling really to influence matters. And Boden had a good game again, holding the ball up, got a goal, and brought people into play very effectively. Miller struggled to really get fully involved. He looked lively, he looked promising, he nearly set up a shot for himself on the edge of the area at one point. He had that run with the last defender, but Kennedy did really well to tackle him, and he also, almost immediately when he came on, had an excellent run down the goal line, which won a corner. So he had showed some promise. But there's one player I've not mentioned, and he's the player that man of the match called go-to. Carl chose him independently of me, but I would have chosen him as well, and that's Kevin Roberts, who in his 350th career appearance put in a very solid shift, did some really good defensive work, and deserves the pat on the back for his efforts. Roberts, Carrington and Rutherford, I think, probably the 3 that you would consider as having done themselves justice. But frustration, huge frustration for Wrexham. I'm just looking down now from the back row of the stand. Dean Keats is doing his post-match press conference. That'll be up on YouTube for you soon. And a huge, huge frustration for Wrexham because, to be honest, they came here with high hopes, and after a rough ride, they fought hard and did well to pull themselves back into the match, but ultimately they were caught out in a really frustrating manner late on. Congratulations to Macclesfield, they go top of the league, but Wrexham will be hugely frustrated with that. For the final score of Macclesfield Town 4, Wrexham 1, I'm Mark Griffiths from the Wrexham Media Team.
This is the Final Whistle podcast from the Wrexham AFC Media Team.